Wednesday here could seal it. Casimir finds Missile.
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
It's a year to the day since a young German took the helm in his first managerial job of his career at a prestigious football club. That young German would be Danny Röhl, and the prestigious football club would be, of course, Sheffield Wednesday. We're going to be looking back over the past year and giving our thoughts on his first calendar year in management, talking about the highs, the lows, and everything in between, and, of course, what's going to come at the time of Danny Röhl being manager of Sheffield Wednesday. Hello and welcome to the WTID podcast. I'm James Mappin, and alongside me, no, it's not Matt. He's been diagnosed with a serious bout of man flu, so we've had to draft in a replacement. If you listen to the debate show in midweek, then you would have heard him give some great points on there. It's James Fletcher. James, how you going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'll go all good, James. How are you?
Yeah, great name, by the way. First of all, how are you, pal? Have you had a good weekend so far?
Yeah, so far, despite England losing to Greece 2-1, but they managed to get it back today.
James, can I just say, we don't talk about England international football on this podcast. We tried that, but no, we don't talk about depressing things like that at all. I mean, we are going to run into a bit of a problem. Your name's James, my name's James, could get a tad confusing. Now, the easy way out, I would just call you Fletch. I'm guessing most people called you Fletch. Is that right?
Yeah, growing up, that's literally been my nickname. So, yeah, let's just stick with an oldie but goodie.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll call you Fletch then. I'll probably still call you James anyway, but it is what it is. I'll see if I can do that. Before we get on to talking about Danny Röhl and all the other things to do with Wednesday, I'm just going to mention Prostate United once again. I have been dragging my sorry arse out every single day so far. So what's that? 13 times this month, running at least 5 kilometres every single day. And when I say at least, it is literally just over 5 kilometres. I'm making sure I'm getting that in there. Raising money for Prostate Cancer UK. So if people can donate, then please do so. I think as well, obviously you can join a team. So yeah, there's quite a few people running for Sheffield Wednesday. Chris Powell, one of it, Sal Bibbo, I think is another one, goalkeeping coach that's dragging himself out and doing stuff. I don't know where we are on the leaderboard, but I think we were second behind Donny Rovers, who I think won it the past couple of years. So yeah, massive thanks to to everyone that has been donating to the cause. Really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm doing my bit and losing a bit of weight in the process as well, which is always good. I will share the links. The links are all on the socials if you want to get involved and donate. Before we talk about Danny Röhl and stuff like that, let's just get to know you a little bit more, James. How did you become a Wednesday fan? Is it just like most people, like myself? My dad took me to the Wednesday match when I was younger. Is that your story?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was my granddad, it was my dad. My older brother took me to a few games. But there's always one defining game that every Wednesday fan refers back to that they fell in love with. And mine's not exactly a happy game. I think I was 13, 14 at the time. And I spent all morning, washing my dad's car, doing all these kind of chores around the house, because he said, at the end of it, I'll get you a ticket and you can go to the game. And it was back in League One when we played Bradford City at Hillsborough. Right. I was so excited. I got to the game at 1:00 in the afternoon, 2 hours before kickoff. And the heavens opened, so I sat there. I was wet, I was cold, and we lost 3-1. And Owen Morrison, I think he scored a brace that game. And on his second one, he ran in front of the cop where I was sat. So it wasn't a great memory, but afterwards...
Yeah. Do you know what? Why is it whenever people think back on kind of memorable games or games that define their moment as a Wednesday fan, it's never a win. It's always a defeat, and I always think to myself, why is that game then captivated you so much to wanting to go back again and again and again? I mean, to be fair, when people can go back to these games and stuff, my memory is shite, and I can't think back to that one game, the first game at Hillsborough or anything like that. It can't have been that good, to be fair. I mean, when I do think back, I can remember, Lloyd Owusu scoring against United, and Chef Kikuchi in that game, the Minuteman game. I can remember that one. But to be fair, there's not many others that I can actually remember thinking back, to be fair. Who was your idol then, James, when you were growing up?
My idol actually was, I would say, Chris Brunt.
Okay.
Because it was fast, even though my dad would always call him lazy. Like, he wouldn't say, he never tracks back, he never does this. But the fact that he was like the early version of Bannon, well, a winger's version. He could pick a ball out from anywhere. His corners were brilliant. And free kicks, just the one against Brentford, even though he hit underside of the defender. It was just, Chris Brunt has to be one of the best players that ever probably graced Hillsborough Stadium of recent year anyway. Yeah. Not the 90s, it's different calibre.
Yeah, do you know what annoys me more, though, is the fact that I think West Brom fans see him more as a legend than we do. And we've got quite a lot of players like that were great for Wednesday, but were better for other clubs. Or other clubs see them or define them as better players, if you know what I mean, or did more at other clubs than what they did at Wednesday, which, I do find it a tad annoying, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Chris Brunt, what a player. Could never find a shirt to fit him, though, could he, to be honest? Yeah.
No.
I always hark back to the Napoleon's Casino home shirt, the one that had kind of like the ribbed white stripes, felt like it was made out of like plastic or something. It was that rigid fabric, awful kit to play in. But I can always remember that one. So he always wore long sleeve as well, which made him look extra baggy. But that's when I think of Chris Brunt, I just think of that kit and that goal against Leicester as well. The absolute screamer where we scored. It was like wonder goal after wonder goal, weren't it? Tudgay, Brunt, Whelan, I think even got in on the act as well. Yeah, some great memories of Chris Brunt. Right, there's a bit of news that I want to touch on. First of all, Akin Famewo and Paul Valentin have reportedly been in talks with a new contract. Both of their deals do end at the end of this season. What do you think to that? Is that something that you're happy with? Both of them, potentially being given new deals.
With Paul, definitely, because he's just gone from strength to strength. As soon as he's joined the club, I know he's not featured a lot, but when he has featured this season, he's either done something incredibly miraculous. I can remember, was it the game? I think we were against Bristol or one before, where he literally took the ball from our own half, dragged it all the way through, a bit like Io for what he does. And just pulled it right through to the midfield and up to attack. And he's just seemed to, he's growing on me, Paul Valentin, a lot.
He is. Just with Paul, just a second. I'm still on the fence with him. I have to admit, I think he's a trier, and God, we love a trier, don't we? At Sheffield Wednesday, we've had quite a few, and they always, us as fans do resonate well with him. But I don't know. I want a little bit more. I feel like a lot of fans do give him a little bit of an easy ride. I mean, it looks great, as you've just mentioned there, when he's dragging the ball out of defence and he's running down that wing. He did it numerous times against Coventry at the weekend. He's bombing down. Looks great. I do always come back to that end product that, he's not got that many assists. The goal he scored against Grimsby was, I think, his first goal in, well, the way he celebrated, it was almost like it was his first goal in his whole career that he'd scored. He has had a few chances as well. So, I mean, look, if in terms of offering him a new deal, I think we haven't got that many options on that side. And I suppose it's not like it's... I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think it's harmless giving him a new deal, I guess. I suppose it depends on what the terms are and stuff like that. But I do agree with what you're saying, though. He has come on a lot. When he first came, he wasn't great, whereas now, he's starting to see signs. And I think that's what Danny Röhl's done to him, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we got, I think Cisco brought him in.
We don't like to talk about that.
I know we don't like to talk about Cisco, but I know he had a torrid time at Hillsborough, but he did bring in Masaba. He brought in Gassama, 2 great players, are coming of age now, and under Danny Röhl, he's getting the best out of them. And I think that's going to be the same for Paul Valentine. And I don't know why they probably want to offer him a new deal. It's because I'm sure there was a rumour knocking around that there was a Turkish side looking to take him away.
It was an Israeli side as well.
Israeli, yeah.
Was it Hapoel Tel Aviv, I want to say? Someone like that anyway.
Yeah, that does ring a bell.
They were kind of fishing around for him, which at the time I thought it was a bit of a hoax, to be honest, when it came out, thinking, not really sure of that one. But, look, if the rumours are there and if he's someone that, if there is interest in him, we've spoken quite a lot about players that have just gone on for a free, been left to run the contracts down and leave on a free. If we can tie him down to a new deal and, he could potentially go for a fee at the end of this season, then fair enough. That's got to be a positive. Akin Femero is the one for me that I feel, again, it's come on leaps and bounds. And to be honest, the way that he played against Coventry, I thought he was absolutely magnificent, absolutely solid. And, even pointing out on the socials, Akin Femero, Deshaun Bernard, and Jan Valery, for me, that looks like the centre-back trio, to certainly lead us into the next couple of games, which if you'd have said to me at the start of the season that's the kind of the 3 that are going to be at the back, I wouldn't have laughed at you, but I'd be probably thinking, really? Is that really what we're going to be going with? But, Akin Femero playing at that left centre-half role is a bit like you've been mentioning with Paul. He has just been getting better and better, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, because I was a bit worried when Akin Femero came in to replace a couple of, I think it's Iofa that's out injured.
Yeah.
But, I was a bit worried thinking, oh, no, we're just going to ship goals in left, right and centre, because I didn't think he would become as good as he is under Danny. But under Darren, he was a bit, I don't know, he was a bit hit and miss.
The thing is, he's not a left back, and he got shoved out at left back quite a lot, especially last season as well, in the early part of last season, which I think he's not a left back. Like, he's not really built as a left back. He is more of a left centre half, but similarly, isn't a centre half either, is he? I don't think he can play in a back 4 as a centre half. It's pretty much he just plays in a back 5 in that position that he's been playing for the past couple of weeks for me.
Oh yeah, back 5. I think we're doing a back 3 in a minute, but obviously with 2 wing backs. But I mean, offering him a new deal. I mean, do we really have the funds to go out in January and find a better defender? I don't think Chansiri does. He's already shipped out quite a lot of money already. So it's kind of like you just offer him a new deal because you're gonna always need those type of people to replace the first teamers, or if he becomes a first teamer, which so far, like you said against Coventry, he had a blinder. If you were Danny, you'd be a fool to take him out of the squad now.
Yeah, and I think as well, just like I mentioned about Paul, whilst ever he's on an upward trajectory in terms of his performances are getting better, I feel that, he's more of an asset at the moment than he's not someone that we can just release at the end of the season. I feel like he has got some worth to the squad. Clearly he has. He's playing at the moment week in, week out, putting good performance after good performance. Yeah, why not offer him a new deal and keep him at the club? Obviously, we don't know how long these deals are going to be, whether it's just another year, whether it's 2, 3-year deal, whatever it may be. I mean, age is on Akin's side as well. I didn't realise he was only 25. I thought, I don't know why, but I just feel like Wednesday players are a lot older than what they actually are. I think I'm just being conditioned into thinking that just from the
old teams, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was 30 plus, at one stage. That's just kind of ingrained in my mind that anyone that comes to Wednesday's on the last paycheck. But no, he's got age on his side. He's still got plenty of years left. So yeah, it's not disgraced me that that we're offering these players new deals, and we don't want to get into a situation again like we have done seemingly every single season from when I can remember, where players, we're having to sign 11, 12 players every season just because those players have left. We don't want to get in that situation again. We want to have, when it comes to the end of the season, we want to have a nucleus of the side that's going to be still there next season. And again, if we're going to offload players, they're not just getting released for nothing. They're going to go for some sort of fee, whether that's a substantial fee or whether that's just a nominal fee, but at least something that we can actually recoup it, when they do leave. James, before we move on to Danny Röhl, which I know everyone's itching for us to talk about, there's one other thing as well. Pierce Charles, it surprised me that he was that he made his full debut for Northern Ireland yesterday. Started alongside his brother against Belarus in the Nations League. What's the next step for Pierce Charles? Because he's yet to make his full league debut for us. Obviously, he's played in the cup games so far this season, and he played a little bit last season as well. What's the next step? Because for me, I feel like he needs to go out on loan. Do you agree with that?
100%. Come January, he needs to go to a club where he can, a bit like Bailey Canamatre, because at the minute with Beadle being a number one, Pierce is never going to overtake Beadle this season unless Beadle gets injured. Probably very unlikely. I mean, touch wood. I hope he doesn't get injured. But right now, Pierce is just he's improving. He's coming on leaps and bounds, and he's really young. So for us to send him out on loan, he needs that first team experience. He needs.
How far would you drop down? Do you think League One, or do you? I mean, obviously, there's got to be a club out there for him. You can't just send him to a club. The clubs are going to have to want him as well. I mean, if a club in League Two came in for him, would you still send him out there, or do you think it has to be kind of League One or nothing, really?
Well, if you send him to League Two, I would say high-end League Two, low-end maybe League One, mid-table League One. But if you're going to send him to League Two, you don't want to send him to a team that's shipping goals, because that'll just kill his confidence, and when he comes back, he'll struggle to get back from that. But he has to be high-end. He has to be like a Chesterfield, someone who's really going places, who's got ambition to get to League One and above. I would probably say Wrexham is the best fit for him. Obviously, I know they've got a keeper, but they've got this type of mentality and ethos of they're constantly trying to climb, and they have that confidence as well. And I think that's what Pierce needs. He needs players around him to keep his confidence building. And I think if that happens, then all credit to him. I hope he wants to stay up. He's not one of these players that we send out on loan and he comes back saying, I don't want to come back. I want to stay with these. And then it's a case of we need, like I said, a decent fee for him. At least 1.52 mil.
Yeah, I think he needs to be staying, ideally. Yeah, I don't think that's going to sway him, but you never know. But for me, he just needs to play. He just needs to play football. He just needs to get out there and get some good games under his belt. He's not going to be improving whilst he's sat on the bench. And I think, obviously, when we brought Ben Hamer in, I think that the idea was to send him out on loan right like now. He should be at a League One, League Two club at the moment. But obviously, with Ben Hamer picking up that injury, probably put a bit of, put the kibosh on that, really, and put a stop to that. But so we're probably a little bit on the back foot. But there's nothing stopping him, like we said, going out on loan in January. Yeah, we've already got our number one in Beadle, but I think Pierce Charles is setting up to be our number one at some point. People are saying, he's young, but I think he's a year younger than Beadle at the moment, and he's He's playing for Northern Ireland, their full senior squad, not the under-21s. He's got that cap to his name now, and I think it's strange when we goalkeepers, because when you've got midfielders, outfield players, they can come on for 10, 15 minutes here and there, and fans can kind of get an idea of what they're about. With goalkeepers, you don't see that, do you? You don't see subbing a goalkeeper on for 10 minutes just so fans can have a look at what they're like. You have to wait for the cup games. You have to perhaps watch some of the under-21s football, and even then you don't really get a great feel about it. So it is a difficult one, because I don't think there's a lot of other people talking about him and how good he is, whereas there's not many. We're not really talking a great deal about Piers Charles, and I just hope when he suddenly bursts on the scene, we certainly see what he can do. Right, let's talk about Danny Röhl then. We're going to talk about some highs, some lows. I have also broken it down into a few areas as well: tactics, squad management, recruitment, results, fan relationship, adaptability, and also long-term vision. Let's get straight into it then. We were just talking before we went live, James. Like, there's been a lot of highs, but I don't feel like the highs have been just like specific moments. I mean, there has been a couple, of course, but I think some of the high moments have just been kind of long periods of time. I mean, you look last season, there were that moment, 5 wins from 6. There were wins at Birmingham, Millwall, Bristol City, Rotherham, and Plymouth. Then unbeaten in 6 at the end. I think in that run that I just mentioned, it was only Leicester that we lost against in that run. But for me, like, the high points was probably just the back end of last season, when when we were climbing, couldn't quite get out of the bottom 3, and then all of a sudden after that win at Blackburn, 3-1 win away, the goal, the game where Windass scored that audacious lob in the first half. Yeah, I think that if I had to pick one from his year so far, it would probably have to be the Blackburn game and just getting out of the bottom 3, because it was such a relief, weren't it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go to that game, but I watched it on the telly, and it was one of those games where Blackburn were a decent side. I mean, obviously they weren't at that point; they would drop down a lot, but I think it was more the nerves of everyone around us, and obviously ourselves thinking, if we lost, because there were very possibility we could have lost that game, and if we had lost that game, then it could have been a different story towards the end of end of the season. But I think because it reminded me a bit of the Championship, where we had to win again at Millwall, in order for us to stay up, and it felt like after that result, it felt like we were going to stay up. It didn't. It didn't feel, even on the table, it looked as though there's still a possibility of us going down if we lost to Sunderland. But the fact that we got that win was just it lifted everyone, I think.
Oh yeah, like we've been in the relegation zone all season. Like from day dot, or it felt certainly from day dot, we've been down there. It'd been awful. 13 games until we win his first game of the season. You're thinking, when is it ever going to come? And it was strange. I felt like all the other clubs around us were panicking. Your likes of your Plymouths and your Blackburns, your Millwalls to a certain extent. I know they climbed out a little bit later on, but obviously Birmingham who went down, Huddersfield who went down. All them clubs were panicking because they were in the relegation zone, then they were out of it for a couple of weeks, then they were back in it again. And we were like the ever-present, us and Rotherham. I mean, obviously Rotherham, see you later. But, we were the ones that were just down there all season. I know QPR were down there for quite a while and then dragged themselves out of it. So it were almost like we were winning the games. We were still in the bottom 3. The gap, closed to 2 points. Then it would drifted to 4. Then it was kind of to-ing and fro-ing. But yeah, it wasn't until that game, because there was a couple of opportunities that we could have got out and we didn't take them. But that was the one where 7,000 fans at Ewood Park, and it was just relief more than anything else. And seeing Danny Röhl and all the staff come over at the end, I know obviously they do that, pretty much every away game now, but you kind of, looking at Danny, and I think he probably believed it, for quite some time. But I think that's where everyone collectively kind of believe, like, we can do this. And you can't believe that it even took another. We had to then go to West Brom, who were obviously not go to West Brom. Sorry, West Brom had to come to Hillsborough, and we still had to beat them. And in hindsight, if we hadn't beat them, we could be playing League One football this season. That's how mad it has been. Any other highs that you've kind of picked out, James?
Well, it's obviously going to the Blackburn one. The relief, well, obviously relief, but also the funny side of their keeper causing an absolute clanger. I think that added to it as well. That was kind of funny.
I can't say that were Danny Röhl's doing, but you never know. You never know. I mean, Plymouth this season has to be a huge high as well.
Oh yeah. I think that one was another one where it was great opening game at season, end of the game we're top at league, but I think the expectations rose for everyone at that point. I mean, get Jamal Lowe getting his goal and everything, and the way we just dispatched him, it felt like a new era had begun at Hillsborough. The optimism was back. Everyone was looking forward to the next game. Probably they were thinking, "Oh, there's not a team I can't see that Wednesday can't beat."
And but do you know what? I know that optimism though, it went through the roof, but that's because of Danny Röhl, isn't it? Really, the reason why we got so excited and the reason why we got so carried away with the fact that we'd won 4-0 is just down to that man, because we see so much potential, and we see. I think obviously we'll get onto it in a little bit later on, but we're seeing things with him that we haven't seen at Sheffield Wednesday or at Hillsborough for a very long time. With the style of football that he's playing and the things that he's talking about. I mean, he's talking about things like in a 6 and 4 and 10, all these numbers and gegenpress and whatever else. Like sometimes I ain't got a clue what he's on about, but we're not. We haven't come accustomed to that sort of stuff, and it's because of him that we are kind of letting ourselves get carried away at certain times, isn't it? Really? Yeah,
and obviously, I think the highs outweigh the lows completely with Danny. It's almost like no matter, even if we lose, his press conferences afterwards when he talks to us, it's like a hug from Danny. It's almost like. It's almost like hugging every fan, just going, "It'll be okay. We'll bring it back the next game." So
do you know what? Danny could tell me that 5 add 5 is 7, and I'll probably just agree with him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know wholeheartedly that it's wrong, but you just you can't disagree with him with some of the stuff that he's saying. I think you bang right as well. The amount of times that I've been absolutely fuming after a game, and then he comes out in his post-match press conference and says whatever he says, and after it you've kind of all right, okay, you've bought into what he's had to say. We'll come on to that kind of in his relationship with the fans, because I think it's absolutely second to none. We've talked about some highs. We can't talk about highs and not talk about lows. I mean, I feel like this pod is going to be primarily positive, but like I said, we have to talk about some of them. And do you know what, the lows that I've picked out, just them 3 hammering. Well, I say 3. You could add to that the Sunderland one as well this season. But I think the one particularly low moment we've just mentioned about Blackburn, and at that point we thought that's it, we're going to stay up. Huddersfield away last season. I categorically felt when I walked out of that ground a lot later than most. I stayed right to the bitter end, and a lot didn't. But I walked out there, and I thought that was it. I thought we were going down. I didn't think that was a huge 6-pointer. I think the gap was 4 before the game, or it might have been 7. I think the gap was 7. It could have gone to 4, and I think it went to 10, something like that. And I just thought, that's it. We can't go into a game of that magnitude and get hammered in the way that we did, and come back from it. So that for me is a particularly low point, and just kind of the naivety, I guess, in the way that we've got beat in certain games. But I suppose that all comes with the learning, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, Huddersfield, that just felt like a sucker punch. That was literally just a punch to the gut, because, I mean, it looked as though at a point were going to happen, and then they just come out with 4 goals. God knows where they came from, but yeah, I'd say.
Do you know what? I don't know if you play Football Manager, James. I don't know if you play Football Manager. It was almost like we went 1-0 down, and then he just went straight on to. They don't have gung-ho anymore. Is it ultra attacking? I think it is. But I know when I used to play
like 4 straight up front.
Yeah, ultra attacking, high tempo, and then it's it never works. I don't know why you ever think it is going to work, but it never does, and clearly it never worked on that day because, like I said, we were found licking his wounds somewhat. But that was a particularly low moment for me.
I also think the Ipswich one, where we went away to Ipswich, we got promoted with them. We had 2 good games with them in League One, and then just got to Portman Road, and then just watching the team just get absolutely taken apart. It just wasn't. Yeah. It didn't feel like a fight in that one. It just felt like a dog just kicking a puppy, and we were the puppy. That's what it felt like.
Do you know what the worst thing about that one was? Exactly what you just mentioned there. We came up with them. We got promoted with Ipswich. They beat us by what? 2 points in the end. Yeah. That could have been us getting promoted automatically, and it just showed the gulf and the distance that we've got to obviously they're now playing in the Premier League, so clearly the gap was vast. But the fact that they can go to another level and we were just left languishing, and it just kind of highlighted the differences in the 2 clubs, really. They've got a plan. They've got an idea. They've got the backing in terms of financials, and we just haven't really. We've got Danny Röhl, but we can't just rest on his laurels. We can't just think that he's the be all and end all, and he's going to be the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, because you need things around him, and I think that game just showed how far we've got to
come. Apart, weren't they? Absolutely poles apart.
Yeah, I think Millwall as well this season was a particularly low point. I kind of accepted the Sunderland and the Leeds one. I'd kind of come around to thinking, they're just better than us. But the Millwall defeat, is like, I know these games happen. You're not going to win every single one, but I thought we could still go to Millwall and put in a decent performance. That one hurt a little bit. I don't know about you.
See, it did, but the one I've got, which I don't know if it's a high or a low, but let's just see where this goes. Go on then. Losing Pervader to Sunderland. Because
it was definitely a low at the time, weren't it? Yeah.
It felt like a low because how we played for us last season. But then seeing him get injured for pretty much the entire season after one game at 15 minutes after coming on, it felt like a high at that point. It's like Wednesday's dodged a massive bullet again. Because how many times have we got a player who we thought was going to be a bee's knees, and after one game he gets injured, and then we don't see him for 10 months?
Momo Diaby.
Yes.
That 45 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it was against Preston North End. Prime Yaya Toure, and then evidently he only had a poster of Yaya Toure in his bedroom wall. That's about as close as he came to Yaya Toure, because it was awful when he came back from injury. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like we Shalabar. All right, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be his knees, but he's one that he's not even played a minute of league football so far. So I think I tweeted that at the time. We have dodged a huge bullet, and then people did remind us of Shalabar. But yeah, we'll come on to transfers and things in a second. I want to talk about tactics. Now we're going to kind of rate each section out of 10. Look, it's not the be all and end all. It's just, for a bit of fun. So please don't at us, although you can get involved. If you do agree or disagree with what we've got to say, do tweet us at WTID pod and get involved. Or you can, if you're watching live, get in the comments. I will try and read some of them out. In terms of tactics then, James, Danny talks a lot about his principles. Have you fully bought into Danny's principles?
I did, and then the few defeats, it's just kind of like started question. I was like a bit like everyone else, to start questioning it, going, "Is this the right way for us to play?" Because playing out from the back, I think we all said this, we haven't really got the squad depth or the quality to really play out from the back for full 90 minutes. But now I think he's seen the error of his ways, and he's mixing it up a bit. He plays out for the back, but they're also looking for that killer pass, into the attacking side. And I think now he's got the sort of right balance for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really fault his tactics. I mean, pressing high is what Ipswich did. It's what a lot of teams do now. Put the pressure on the defenders, and then they don't really have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I think I like it. I want us to play that way, but I agree with what you're saying. It comes down to whether we have the personnel to do that. Now, last season, it was evident that we didn't. They weren't his players. I know, obviously, he had the chance to bring in a couple in January, which he did. He brought 4 new additions in, and on the whole, did very well. But I think there were times where we were just legging ourselves up a little bit in terms of the passing after the back, and I feel like we were too clever for his own good, and there were times where I think players didn't really know what was wanting of them in certain areas, and they looked a bit lost. I'm going to say it. I said it a few times last season. I just didn't think they were good enough to do what Danny Röhl were trying to do, and I always went back to the fact that where he's come from, the German national side and Bayern Munich were his 2 most recent jobs. You look at the calibre of player that he's working with there, far exceeds what we've got at Sheffield Wednesday. Absolutely blows it out of the water. You're talking 40, 50, 60 million pound players average, with the players that he's working with, who are, far better than what we've got in terms of skill level, hence why they're playing at the level that they are. And I just felt like they couldn't do what he was trying to do. And also, Danny Röhl, that's all he knows of recent year is the method of working is at that such high level. And I don't think, whilst he was trying to feed it down to the players that we've got, I don't think it was working. But having said that, I think that is the way that football is moving. But yeah, I feel like he adapted obviously at the back end of last season. We saw that with the results that we were picking up, and one of the form sides come the end of last season, and he kind of relinquished a bit of that his principles. And then he did revert back to it, didn't he, at the start of this season, James? I think the first couple of games, I think he wants to play that high pressing, high tempo football. But when it worked, didn't it, in the first game? It worked against Plymouth.
Well, that's the thing. Plymouth are Plymouth, though, aren't they? No offense to any Plymouth fans listening to it, but they're not a great team. They're just a bit like us, but with a bad manager. If they had Danny Röhl and we had Rooney, it'd be opposites, wouldn't it? It's role reversal.
Yeah. You know what? With his tactics, I think I think he's a long-term project, isn't it? Really, I think he's seen that it's not going to be a quick fix. We're not suddenly just going to turn into prime Barcelona overnight. As much as he's trying to do that, I feel like he wants us to play, kind of a 4-2-3-1 kind of formation. I think that's his preferred. It would just look better with playing 3 centre backs at the moment, and I think whether or not he's going to revert back to that in a whether that's in a couple of months' time after January or something like that, I'm not too sure. But at the moment, I think he's realised that as a team, we are far more effective playing the way that we have been doing in recent weeks. And yeah, that needs to continue. That really, I mean, James, we haven't really had anyone like Danny Röhl before, have we? When you go back, Moore, Carlos, Yoss, Monk, Bruce, Gray, Pulis. I mean, after that, you were going back 15 years. We haven't had a modern, forward-thinking manager before, have we?
No. And you listen to all them. It's with Danny as well. He has got a plan B. A lot of the Carlos managers and other managers that we've had, and they never had a plan B. They stuck to a plan A. So it's good to see that Danny can adapt. And you're right. We've never had this it's always seemed to Wednesday's always been 3 steps back from everyone else. Either in the Championship or in the Premier League, it seems like we're always the one that's late to the party. So then they're moving on to the next thing while we're still working on this new thing that's coming. So yeah, it's refreshing. It's nice to see that Wednesday are looking to become, I wouldn't say ahead of the game, but just to catch up, just to get on the level playing field and really have a go.
Well, it's nice for Danny Röhl to be spoken about in the media in a good light. The fact that it was on ITV as well, so putting Sheffield Wednesday back on the map. I know obviously quite a lot of the older generation. You talked about the 90s a little bit earlier on, and we were on the map at that point. You speak to younger football fans now, and we're not this massive football club anymore to most younger football fans. I'd hate to say it, but they probably more recognise our dear neighbours down the road than us, which we need to get back up there. And I think Danny Röhl certainly do it. I mean, Sky Sports love him, in terms of the analysis that he always gives in his post-match press conferences, etc. So, yeah, like I said, we haven't had anyone like him, and it is refreshing to see. And I think, we're actually, rather than being, like you said, rather than being behind the curve, we're actually, I wouldn't say we're ahead of it, because I think there's a lot of things off the pitch that need sorting out, but certainly in terms of the backroom staff, we've got something special with Danny Röhl. Charlie's put a comment in, favourite game under Danny Röhl. What would your favourite game be? I mean, I suppose we've knocked a few of those off.
Yeah.
I have to say Plymouth at the start of this season, really, just because, that got me really believing. I'm not going to lie, I got carried away and got really excited. I know what came after that, and I've been knocked down a few pegs or two, but that game got me. Yeah, I was absolutely buzzing, and I thought I genuinely thought we were going places. Yeah. So yeah, for the fact that everything he touched turned to gold, or everything we touched turned to gold. The atmosphere were absolutely electric as well. Yeah, I'd have to say that's been my favourite game so far. What about yourself?
West Brom last season, beating them 3-1, 3-0. It's just not securing it, staying up, but yeah, it's almost like that game. Yeah, it helped, and it was nice because West Brom were pushing for playoffs at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't expected, that was it? Whilst we wanted it, whilst we were playing well and we were unbeaten in however long, there was still an element of, it's not a gimmick. This isn't a given that we're going to beat West Brom, even though we kind of, there was that expectation, but still, West Brom could have easily turned us over that day. Oh yeah,
I mean, that game, I think a lot of us were getting our pens and paper out and just going, could we still do it if we lost? What results have to go our way in order to get past Sunderland or just to stay up? But yeah,
not going to lie, James, I had all the games favorited on flash scores that day.
Same thing.
all the alerts were coming through. If my phone were going crazy when I got signal, of course, because it's an absolute nightmare at Hillsborough, isn't it? But yeah, right. Let's move off from tactics. The next one, actually, we didn't give it a rating out of 10. Go on then. What would your, in terms of Danny Röhl's tactics and his principles, if you had to give it an out of 10 rating, what would it be?
I don't know, because I feel harsh now, because I rated it 6.
You've given him the glowing review.
8, really, or a 9.
You can change it, James, if you want, mate.
Yeah, it's going up to an 8. It's going up to an 8.
It's an
There's
8.
still room for improvement.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is room for improvement. It's not a finished article because he does keep harping back to playing how he wants to play when clearly we haven't got the players to do that at the moment. I think I have like 7 or an 8. I'll go 7.5. I think because you're right. There is still room for improvement. He hasn't got it right all the time. Look, we've only just started playing a little bit better this season so far. There were some shockers. Millwall, he got it totally wrong in that game, but. Yeah, I think 7.5 is probably a good one there. Next up is probably quite a quick one. Squad management is next. He's used we have used and he, I guess, has used 21 players so far in the 9 games that we've played in the league. That would be more if you extend that to the cup, because there has been a few others. Shalabar, McNeil. Agbontohoma's played, Fazira. There's loads more if you want to use the Carabao Cup, but let's just stick to league at the moment. Out of those 21, there's only one that hasn't started at least one game this season, which is Pato. He played a minute against who was it that he came on? Coventry, when he came on for the last minute. Smith is the only one to have started just one game, but he has played in all 9, coming off the bench. So 19 players have started at least 2 games this season. James, you can't say that Danny Röhl isn't rotating the squad around, can you?
No, it's not going to be like on FIFA where you're going to be players banging on your door saying, "I want more minutes." So it's good that he's got the rotation there, but that's just the way modern football is going, though.
Do you like that, James? Do you like the fact that he's rotating the squad around?
Yeah, I do. Because there is a lot of games in the season, 46 games plus cups. You're going to need, I know a lot of managers say, like, we need all the players, but Danny's proving that he does need all the players. And no matter what the quality is, it almost feels like he could get anyone playing good under him, just doing the right things.
I think for me, it comes down to that consistency. When we're playing at this sort of level, when you're playing at championship level, the reason why the players are playing at that level is probably down to the fact that they can't do it week in, week out. Like there's not been many players. I mean, Barry Bannon aside, he always gives you an 8 or a 9, out of 10 most games. I feel Liam Palmer gives you a 7 or an 8 out of 10 every game. When you look to the likes of Masaba and Gassama, they give you a 9 or a 10, and then next week they're giving you a 2 or a 3 in terms of performance or a rating, so to speak. So because that consistency is not there, I feel like we have had to try different players out, different combinations. I know I spoke last week or the week before about how many players have played in that front 3, which I think is about 7 or 8, and then you added Ingleson to that mix from last week as well when we played Coventry. So yeah, he is rotating it around. I'm a bit undecided. Whilst I agree with what you're saying, it is the modern way, and there is a lot of games, a lot of football, and he spoke about that already with the travelling. I think coming up now we've got I think it's like 3-4 weeks, Saturday, Tuesday, or a variation. That needs to be managed, and at least Danny Röhl's identified that, and he's trying to do something about it. And obviously he's mad into the stats and running figures and heart rate zones, red zones he's spoken about in the past. But I do feel like there comes to an element of, if they're playing well, you don't change your winning side.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that about that?
I do, but it's going back to it. I think as long as you don't mess with the midfield, I think the rest of them can be tweaked a little bit. There's two positions you don't mess with: the midfield central bit and keepers. If you keep that, maybe 1 or 2. There's always talk about a nucleus of a team, like 2 centre-back, keeper, centre-backs, centre-mids, and attackers. That's like your basic nucleus of a team. So if you don't mess with that, Bannon and Charles have been outstanding together. Like, you do not want to mess around with that. But
I mean, to be fair as well, Charles could play every single game, couldn't he? Like, I'm not being funny. How old is he? 20, 21, 20?
Yeah, 21, 22.
He could play, 4 games a week at his age.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like he could run and run and run. And Barry Bannon has no signs of stopping anytime soon, even though you kind of think he might, but he just go. The amount of games that he's played for us is unreal when you look at it. He's always available, isn't he? He's never not. Yeah. Whenever he's injured, there's you can just hear like a huge gasp intake of air, from all 3 sides of Hillsborough when he goes down, and the physio has to come on because it never happens. Do you know what I mean? It just never happens, does it?
I know, it's like with Bannon though. It's like what we wanted Bullen to be with quality, like the quality to match the heart and the drive. Yeah, like when Bullen wouldn't give up a ball, Bannon's got that same sort of mentality. Yeah, so I think
Jose Semedo with a bit of skill as well. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I miss Jose.
Yeah, he's So, like we said, he's not afraid to rotate the squad around. Obviously, in recent weeks, it's been a little bit forced with some of the injuries that we've picked up and things like that. But yeah, he's used 21 players. And I think the thing for me as well, I think quite a lot of squads would have probably used a similar sort of number. But it's the fact that 20 of those have actually at least started one game. It's all right, people bringing players off the bench and things like that. But the fact that like I mentioned there, there's 19 players that have started 2 or more games this season, which I do think is quite a lot. And it probably also it shows a little bit that he's not quite found his best 11. Although from what you're saying, maybe best 11 doesn't exist anymore.
No, I don't think it does. I really don't. I think it's literally it's a bit like horses for courses, isn't it? You look at the team that you're playing against, and you pick the right players to play them. And
he does a lot of that, doesn't he, Danny?
Having a variety, yeah.
Again, I'm gonna ask the question I asked earlier, about the rotating the squad. Do you like the fact that he picks his team and his tactics against the to suit the team it's coming up against, or would you rather him kind of play to our strengths and let them worry about us? What side of the fence are you sat on?
See, I'm sat on the other side, not the one where it's like let them worry about us, because I don't think we can be that naive of letting teams. We're not that good to let teams play our game and let teams worry about us. It's almost like we have to adapt, to get the results. I mean, we're up against teams who've got budgets 3-4 times way more than we have. So it's just a case of, I think I like what he's doing with it, but I actually think he doesn't like doing it. I think he likes to have his starting 11. He likes to have his base players there and ready to go. It's just, it's almost like he's playing with he's managing with one arm tied behind his back.
Yeah.
And if he had that money, if we had that big investment, and then you'd see a completely different side.
Well, yeah, shadow of a doubt. We'll come on to transfers and stuff. Actually, that's the next one we're gonna come up against. But go on, let's give squad management an out of 10 rating. I don't know how you can give it a rating, really. To be fair, because you either use more players or you don't. But yeah, I mean, look, I think he's doing his best. He's clearly trying to get the squad to be able to perform at the levels that he wants to perform right up until the end of the season. I think, you saw that Deshaun Bernard, he obviously went to Jamaica in the last international break. He didn't play him in the game immediately after he came back. He allowed him that time to rest. So I think Danny Röhl's very in tune with with the players in terms of the load levels that are put on him. He wants the players to be able to perform, in game week 40, 41, 42, come the end of the season. So for that, I mean, I suppose you can't really fault him, really. I'll have to give him an 8 or a 9 for that one.
Yeah, I gave him an 8 for that. Yeah, why not?
Fair enough. Right.
Well, we can't really judge it that fair. So it's kind of like, yeah, he's doing all right so far until it changes.
Let's talk about recruitment then. He signed 4 loan players in January 24. He's made 11 signings in the summer, 2 of which were the same player that he signed in January in Beadle and Ugbo. Obviously, the latter being on a permanent. You have to say, for me, 3 of the 4 January signings were good. Pedersen was absolutely shite. So I'll not talk about that one. I mean, in the summer, Shalabar we've not really seen anything of. You've got to say the same about Hamer. I think Charles has been absolutely class. Other than that, I'd have to say the rest have been okay without being world beaters. Am I being a bit harsh there, James, on some of those signings, or do you think that's fair?
No, that's fair. I absolutely believe that's fair. Like you said, they have just been okay. None of them have really stood out. Say like you said, none of them have been world beaters. None of them have been like a Ronaldo or the next Messi, apart from Pierce Charles, of course. That's the only one I can think of. But I think Kabaki, I mean, I think he's picked the players that are coming good. Like the Kabaki one. He didn't look like a great signing, but as he's got used to the Championship, I mean, he scored against Villa in the behind closed doors game last week, so he might be one that's coming good. And I hope he does. Rest of him, Ugbo, he's not hit the ground running like he did last season. So I fear for that one.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I got asked this question earlier on in the week about the summer transfer window and how the signing's gone and they're starting to gel, and it got me thinking about, have the signings actually been that good? And all right, I know Beadle's been doing okay, and I know he had a great game against Coventry, and obviously the knee slide is worth about 100 points in anyone's eyes when you do something like that. But then when you look at it, I think he's got one of the lowest save percentages, which, look, it's difficult with a goalkeeper because you're the last line of defence, and this, has he dropped a clanger or has he is it just a shot that you're never going to save kind of thing? So sometimes those stats can be a little bit misleading. But it got me thinking about some of the other signings that we've made as well. Jan Valery, again, he's been okay. Again, like I said at the top, he's not really been a world beater. Max Lowe, jury's still out on him. Everyone's got their opinion on what they think about Max Lowe. Probably swayed somewhat by the your mates or your family friends or whatever that have told you about him when we signed him. Jamal Lowe, another one, which scored in the opening day of the season. Not really done a great deal since, other than scoring against Grimsby. Shalabar, we haven't seen anything of him. Ingleson, thought he was absolutely magnificent. Then Danny Röhl just don't play him until Coventry. Ben Hamer, not seen anything of him. Charlie McNeil looks great in the cup game against Hull. Not seen anything since. Shea Charles is Shea Charles, and we can.
I forgot about Charlie McNeil.
Well, exactly. That's
he
it.
Just went under the radar.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's it. And then we've got James Beadle. So when you go through those, all right, I've missed out Ugbo and Kabaki, but you mentioned both of those. Again, Ugbo, he's not done anything since he's signed, and Kabaki showing promise, but still, I mean, if that shot had gone in against Luton, maybe I'd be thinking a little bit different about him. But yeah, showing signs of promise, but still yet to deliver. So when I look at the recruitment, I don't think it's very difficult to judge Danny Röhl on the recruitment because we know, like you mentioned, his hands are tied behind his back somewhat, and we don't know what the budget was. How many of those players that he signed were his number one targets? We didn't sign a centre back, but yet we let one go. So I want to feel like he wanted to bring one in, but we perhaps didn't have the budget. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult, isn't it? Because how much of it's him and how much is Chansiri?
Yeah, that is the thing. Because we don't have massive amounts of money, and I honestly I think he must have had a list, and a B list, and then a C list, And I think I think Ugbo might have been in his B list, and the rest may have been dropping down to C. He might have gone like too ambitious, and he might have rang up Hansi Flick and gone, can you send 2 of your centre midfielders to me from Barca A? And he's gone, yeah, if you give me a $250,000 a week, then I'll do it. But because I think Danny, he's played with the world's greatest players, so he's gonna have a mind of, I know who I want and I know what I want, and there's gonna be young players as well, especially at RB Leipzig, that he's probably worked with, that he could probably try to get, but obviously either wages or the transfers too much. So
has it surprised you that we haven't kind of tapped into that sort of market? Because we've only brought in 2 loan players, haven't we, so far? Beadle and Charles are the only 2 that we brought in, whereas last season I think we were 6-7 loan players at one point that we'd signed, and obviously Danny, all the signings that he made in January were loans. Does it surprise you that we haven't tapped into that market a little bit more in the summer?
Not really, no. You already had a sort of a base of a team. The players he's brought in, like I said, are brilliant. They're okay. Like, I think like that description of all these players are okay. No, there's no one's going to come in January like Man City and offer us 50 million for XYO player. It's not like, I just wish we had Pierce Charles on a permanent, if I'm honest. But he's the only.
You keep saying Pierce. It's Shea Charles.
One who's decent. Really.
It's Shea Charles, James. It's Shea. It's not Pierce. It's Shea.
Yeah. Oh, Pierce is brilliant as well.
I know.
Both. Sorry, Shea Charles.
I know exactly what.
Yeah, they look alike.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm sure everyone else did as well. Yeah. I think. Yeah, I just think when it comes to the signings that we've made, like I said, I think it is difficult to pin it all on Danny, because I agree with what you're saying. I feel like they're not all the players that he wanted. I feel like he did want another ball playing centre back, and he made a point of saying that he's not going to sign someone for the sake of signing them. And maybe I'm reading way between the lines here and getting something well off the mark, but that could be a kind of not a dig, but saying that he wants to get a better defender, but he just he hasn't got the budget to find them, because you can't say that there isn't any out there, but maybe there's just not any out there for either the wages that he wants to pay or the transfer fees that he wants to pay. Because whilst ever we've been signing players on frees and loans, and other than Ugbo, we haven't spent a great deal of money. I think Kabaki cost couple of $100,000, I think it was, reportedly, but most of them have been signed on a free. When you get to them, when you're trying to get up to the top half of the championship, unfortunately you've got to spend some money. You can't just bring players in on a free and expect them to be absolute world beaters. There's going to be some that aren't going to work, and I think that's what we've seen. Look, whilst I've said they're only okay and they're not world beaters, we are only 9 games in, and we have to remind ourselves of that, don't we, James?
Yeah, we do. I mean, beginning of the season, like these types of games of the season, up to 9 or 10, you don't remember if it comes end of the season. You just remember to the back end of the season, if it was successful or not. I think for us this season, staying up is just staying up. Like I say, I think
that's objective number one, isn't it? That's the first objective, is to make sure that we're in the championship. But I think we're going to do that at a canter. Don't clip that, by the way, before anyone does that. Go on then. What sort of rating would you put on the Recruitment?
See, I gave him an 8 in Recruitment, just for the pure speed of how it all got done. He got his players in, majority of his players in before pre-season, which we hadn't seen in a few years. So to have that and get them playing together quickly as he did, I think, he has to get an 8.
I think I've been harsh on him then. I've gone 6. I've gone 6 out of 10. And I feel like I said, I feel like I've been a bit harsh there. The reason why I've gone for that is what I've been mentioning. None of the players that he's brought in have, other than Shea Charles, have
Not Pierce.
Said, not Pierce, yeah, not Pierce. None of the players he's brought in have I been wowed with. Yes, Ike Ugbo in January, but then you have recency bias and he's not really hit the ground running this season. Yes, Jan Paveda, when he came in, he were great, but then he picked up injuries, which I suppose it's not really his fault, is it? It's not really Danny's fault. I think, yes, you have to say, you know, he's brought players in areas that that are needed. And then having said that, like what I've just been mentioning, we didn't bring a centre-back in. Again, might not be his fault, but I suppose if we are rating his recruitment, personally, I can't give him any more than a... I mean, I maybe could stretch to a 7, but I think really at this current stage right now, I'd have to say a 6 really, because you know other players, you know, Barry Bannon's still shining. You know, we've still, you know, Masaba and Gassama were both here last season, and they weren't Danny's signings. They're starting to starting to be a bit more prevalent, and we still, you know, we've been talking about Akin Famewo, Paul Valentin. They weren't Danny Röhl's signings either. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm gonna say that it's not all down to it. Whilst I've rated him and Danny Röhl, I think there's other factors that come into it, to be fair. And again, I think I've been a little bit harsh. Next one is results and performances. Actually, before I do that, Daniel's put a question in. Daniel's gone for Danny's best signing so far. Who would you say Danny's best signing is? I think it's a bit of a shoe in this one, isn't it?
Shea Charles. Or if he's on about permanent signing, I would say Kabaki.
Okay.
No, I'm going to change that one. Ingleson.
Are you impressed with him?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. He's like, he's hit and miss. He's good on his day, and he shows a lot of promise. And there's something about him that he seems to bring off the pressure of Bannon. Not as well as Shea does, but Ingleson can do it when on his day. With Kabaki, I think he just needs a bit more time. He shows quality with his crossing, and he can finish as well, which is always a good sign for a winger.
Yeah, we need to see more of that though. Definitely need to see more. I'd have to agree. Shea Charles is by far the best signing that he's made. I think you look at his valuation. He went for 10 million from City to Southampton, and you can 100% see why. Like, he's just absolutely head and shoulders above anyone else. I know he obviously scored last week, but that's not really what he's been brought in for. He's been brought in for that combative nature, that breaking play up. And I think as well, just being that link between the centre back pairings and the midfield, which he's doing that with just ease. He just looks what he does looks effortless, and the fact that we've been able to bring him in, and he's been trusted as well to, in terms of Danny Röhl, being trusted to bring a player in like Shea Charles and develop him. I mean, look, a lot of people are getting scared that he's going to be going back in January. I don't think Shea Charles will be going back to Southampton in January. Why? I don't think Shea Charles is the answer to Southampton's problems. But to have Shea Charles playing a full season of Championship football when Southampton will be in the Championship next season, I think it'll be hugely beneficial to them. Right, let's go and talk about results and performances then. We have kind of touched on this on the highs and lows, I feel, a little bit, so it won't take us too long. But obviously he kept us in the Championship when it looked destined for us to be in League One, which obviously you have to give him huge credit for. Finished last season in as the form side. I think Millwall was the only team that were better than us in the last 6 games. And yeah, that pressure was on when we went to Blackburn, but turned up, every player to a man. I think the team were prepped very well that day. They knew exactly what they needed to do and executed it to precision, really. I mean, just look at his numbers. 44 games in charge of Sheffield Wednesday, league games, that is. I think it's 50, I read somewhere. in all competitions. But let's just go for the league so far. 44 games, 18 wins, 7 draws, 19 defeats, 50 goals scored, 65 conceded, and an average points per match of 1.39 to be precise. Yeah, on the results and stuff, we can't really fault him, can we, James? Because he came in and we were in absolute dire straits, and we're sat here now and we're a Championship football club still, and that's got to be down to him, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, like, results. It's almost like going back to the players where we say like the signings are okay. It's like the results are okay. They're not outstanding. We've not gone out and we're not battering teams left, right, and centre. He's just doing the job and he's getting the results that he needs to do the job. So yeah, it's okay. Basically, yeah.
Do you think Danny Röhl's overachieved with Sheffield Wednesday so far? With the tools that he's got.
Definitely last season. Last season he definitely overachieved. I don't think Chansiri told him that if you don't keep us up, then you're not going to have a job. I think Chansiri was almost preparing that inevitability himself, thinking could he produce the just a magnificent end towards the last season to keep us up? I don't think he was. I think he were thinking, right, let's prepare for League One. But Danny obviously had other ideas to keep us up there. And yeah, last season massively overachieved. This season, I think it's just the matter of the fact he's doing his job right. He's getting the results.
Yeah. And look, we had a bit of a shaky start, didn't we? Well, a great start, but a shaky game week 2, 3, and 4. But I think things are looking up at the moment. I think for me, in terms of I said this would be quite a quick one. I think in terms of giving it a rating, I'd have to say it'd have to be and I've got to say a 9 out of 10. It's not 10 out of 10 because, like you said, we'd be having performances like Plymouth every single week. But you can't fault him. There were times where I thought we were going to go down last season, but he's turned water into wine. I think with some of the players that we've got. There were players that were playing last season that were still playing in them first 10 games under Cisco, and they looked inept. They looked awful. I'd have got rid of every single one of them. After that West Brom game, I don't think there was any one player that could stand up and say, like, I deserve to be here. But these took them exact same squad of players and turned it all around, and that's on him really. So yeah, I've gone for a 9 out of 10. What about yourself?
Oh, I've got a bit harsh on this one then. I've got an 8. Oh,
it's not too bad. We said,
results are okay. I was expecting top of league at this point. I was expecting Premier League, FA Cup winnings, Europe the season after. but yeah, let's just be realistic. Yeah, Danny Röhl's done a magnificent job, and results obviously reflecting that. And like I said, yeah, he has taken this team last season, and they said they were just. I thought watching the first few games, Sunderland and what have you, and you just think, oh, we're going to go down. Like, we're clearly not good enough. We've gone up too soon, type of thing. Like Championship to Premier League, but League One Championship. It felt like we went up too soon. We weren't prepared, and then Danny Röhl came in and just waved his magic wand, and there we go. We're still a Championship team.
I've just got a vision of him walking into Middlewood Road dressed as Harry Potter with some sort of magic wand. But anyway, let's the next one I've got down here. Fan and media relations. I think I've never seen a manager resonate with the fans in the way that Danny Röhl has. We can all talk about, the other managers in the past. Gary Megson is one that comes to mind. Gary Megson, really passionate and everything. I've never seen anyone like Danny Röhl that, is the little at the end of the game, the hey that he does in front of the cop, and in front of every stand he does it, doesn't he? Really, but when the fact that he's got he's got all the fans in his hand. He could say jump, and we just say how high. Like I said earlier, he could tell me something that I know is categorically incorrect, but I'd probably believe him. He's that sort of person, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how you become that type of person. I think it's he seems to have taken us on as like just one of his own, if you know what I mean. It's like family. He's just been incorporated into the Sheffield Wednesday family, and it felt so easy. It felt effortless. And again, I've not seen a manager do that for a very, very long time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's just the way he talks. He's just so charismatic, no matter where he is. Like at the World Cup, like every time he was on TV, it's almost like you literally put your hand like this and just listen to him constantly talking.
I turned the telly on kind of an hour before Hungary against whoever it was. I had no interest in watching the game. I just wanted to listen to what Danny Röhl had to say. And when he gave that little line about, what did he say? Something like Sheffield is his home. That was it.
Something like, it reminds me of home in Sheffield because it was raining, I think, at the time. And he said it reminds me of home in Sheffield. And I think that's what wasn't that line Inglison's reason for joining Sheffield Wednesday? I'm sure that's what he said in an interview.
I'm not sure.
Because he's got that way of talking to fans. He's got the patter. And I think it goes back with his transfers as well. Because who else would he have, Shea Charles would have gone to? He could have gone to anyone. He could have gone to United. He could have gone to West Brom. He could have gone to anyone who was looking to push for promotion. But Danny must have said something to them to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
He's got that pull.
He can do no wrong. Danny Röhl can do no wrong, and I think some people have mentioned it in terms of they feel like they can't criticise him because whenever it does happen, he gets shot down. Which, whether that's right or wrong, but everyone loves him, and like I said, I've not seen anything like it. In the interest of time, we whiz through it. I've given him a 10 out of 10 for that. I don't know how you could get it any better. There was that one comment. There was the one comment about the atmosphere after during the West Brom game or after the West Brom game, where he said he felt like it was quiet at 2-0, which I don't think went down too well with certain fans. However, that's literally one mark on his paper. You know what I mean? That it's a small blemish, and not everyone's perfect. So I mean. By this point, Cisco didn't get to a year, did he? But Cisco had many black marks against his name when it came to talking to the fans and the media. So we can let that one slide a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, with Cisco, you just didn't want to listen to him, did you? He just always, after every game, just looked miserable. I felt sorry for Alex Miller and Joe Cran who had to interview him because he just looked like he was about to kill him every time. It's just the face of thunder. But yeah,
on, Danny, what have you got? What rating have you given him?
10. It's gotta be a 10. Has to be.
Of course it does. I wanted to talk about his adaptability and his long-term vision, but time's against us. And I want to talk a little bit about Burnley coming up next week. So we'll park those two. Let's talk about Burnley. Let's get back into the present for a second. Yeah, international break over. Let's just ease us back into the football. Bang, Burnley at home. Like, do you know what I mean? I suppose the only bigger fixture would obviously probably be them boys down the road, or if this fixture was away. So let's take comfort from the fact that it is at home, but Burnley are in decent form, and it's not going to be easy, is it, James, on Saturday?
No, I won't even say like easing back into football. It's literally like being hit by a brick wall with Burnley coming obviously just down from Premier League. I mean, they're a tough side. I mean, they haven't conceded many this season. I'd take a draw, if I'm honest, right now. I'd be happy if it was just a bore 0-0 draw. A point against Burnley at home, I'll be happy with that, because I know for a fact they are dangerous. They have a lot of quality players, and a lot of them come from Premier League. I mean, even Scott Parker, he knows how to get out of this division with Fulham. I can see him doing it again.
Did he do it with Bournemouth as well? I think he's got out of this league twice, hasn't he? Do you know what? I think from looking at Burnley's results and speaking to one of the guys that do the Burnley podcast, I feel like they're a side that they turn up for the big games. They've beaten Leeds so far this season, but then they've struggled against. I don't want to say the easier fixtures, but I think they drew to Blackburn. I think they've drew most recently to Preston as well. So
yeah, that's their derby, isn't it?
It is their derbies, yes. I suppose that is that is a big game for them to a certain extent. But you'd like to think that they would turn up against Blackburn and Preston and beat them. But given the quality that they've got versus theirs, I know that goes out of the window a little bit when it is a derby game. Oxford, I think they've drawn to Oxford as well. So yeah, they go and beat Leeds and then struggle against Oxford, which is a little bit frustrating, I guess, from a Burnley perspective. The fact that they don't concede many goals is a little bit of a worry, because I feel like, all right, I know we scored 2 against Coventry. We scored a goal against Luton as well. We scored a goal against QPR, and we have been scoring in recent weeks. But I do find we find it difficult. Which, coming up against a Burnley side, are we going to find it difficult again on Saturday? Are they going to keep it tight? Having said that, in recent weeks, James, we've been, I don't want to say playing on the counter, but we haven't had much possession, but yet we've been coming away with some decent results. West Brom, we had less than 50% possession. We had less than 50% against Coventry as well. So we're not afraid to give teams the ball, even at home as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but that's also a worry as well. It's like you constantly give them the ball, you don't have much possession, but it's all about are you giving a ball to a team that can actually do something with it? And I think Burnley are that side who come from obviously the Premier League, where you make a mistake, it's going to be punished. But like we said earlier about not showing up against the lesser teams, I just pray that they do the same for us. I hope they're walking into it thinking we're going to absolutely turn over this team. They're going to come in, turn us over, and then be done with us like they were with Cardiff. I think that's where it came from, really. When they hammered Cardiff so easily, 5-1, it almost felt like they were just easing into the rest of the teams at that point. But yeah, I think Wednesday could do it if we turn up like we did against West Brom. Yeah. But there's also another side to that is, if we get these chances, we need to take them quickly.
James, would you be making many changes from the side that against Coventry at the weekend?
No, they've had 2 weeks rest. Maybe Smith. Start Smith, maybe. See what you can do against them. But
yeah, it's interesting you said that, because Ikobo's not been working, and neither has Jamal Lowe didn't really work on last Saturday. Well, last Saturday against Coventry either. So that kind of number 9 position is up for grabs for me. You can play anyone up there. Like, nobody's really taking it by the scruff of the neck. Do we give Smith another go? Do you know what? Like I said, I feel like he's going to stick with Ike Ugbo. I feel like he's going to trust in him, and you haven't paid that sort of money for a player to not play him and just sit on the bench. You've got to use him. You've got to play him into some sort of form and hope that he comes good. I don't know how many games you play him until you decide to cut your losses on him. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, if Ugbo came back in but we stuck with a very similar sort of lineup, really. I don't know if he's going to stick with Ingleson playing out wide, although I thought he played quite well. You might see, Josh Windass come back in there. I don't think he's injured. I think he was just rested, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see Josh Windass for Ingleson and perhaps Ugbo for Jamal Lowe. You've already given me a score prediction. You said a ball 0-0. Is that what you're sticking with?
That's what I'll take. Let's go for a different one. If Wednesday play like they did against West Brom, I would say 2-0 Wednesday.
Wow, bold. 2-0.
Windass.
Yeah.
Windass at from the halfway line.
James, you've got to put a tenner on that now, because if that happens, you'll be absolutely kicking yourself. Do you know what I'm going to go for? I'm going to go with your prediction, your first one. I do think it is going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a score draw. I'll go for a 1-1. I think we'll take the lead, and we'll get pegged back. But to be honest, whilst it'll feel frustrating at the time, again, I think we're in that stage where I think performances just kind of shade results. And the fact that we've picked up 7 points from the last 3 games helps massively when it comes to this. That, and look, our season is not defined by playing Burnley at home. Burnley, who are sat 3rd in the league, they're going to be up there come the end of the season. That our battle is not with them. Having said that, it would be great to extend that unbeaten run to 4. 2 draws and 2 wins in the last 4 games it'd be brilliant. But look, I don't think we're going to be going into this game thinking it's a foregone conclusion in terms of we're going to get beat. We've shown that against West Brom. League leaders come to town and we turn them over 3-2. So, yeah, I think we've got to, whilst we're not going to be, brimming with confidence, we have got to take confidence from the fact that, we have got 2 wins in his last 3 games. But we've got some big games coming up, haven't we? Is it Swansea in midweek at home?
Tuesday.
Then it's Friday at Portsmouth, which, I suppose if you're looking at it, really, you look at your next 3 games, we could take a defeat against Burnley if that meant that we're going to beat both Swansea and Portsmouth. But football don't work like that, does it?
No, it'd be good if it did, because I'd take that as well. I'd take 6 points out of possible 9. A 9 out of 9 would be fantastic, but right now, against Burnley, Swansea's beatable, and so is Portsmouth. But Burnley, yeah, I'll take a draw, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
right.
It's going to be very scrappy, I think.
It might. Look, if it's a scrappy game and we take it and it's 1-1, happy days, move on to the next. And like I said, our battle is not against Burnley this Saturday, but yeah, it would be nice to have another scalp as well this season. Right, let's going to wrap things up there. James, massive thanks for stepping in this week. Have you enjoyed it?
I've had a great time. It's been brilliant. Let's do it again.
Yeah, yes, definitely, James. Massive thanks. It's not finished now. We are going to be doing extra time in which we are doing continuing the A to Z of Sheffield Wednesday. We've done A, B, and C. That was a couple of weeks ago. I did that with Matt. We are doing D, E, and F. So we're going to be recording that straight after this. That's going to be over on Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod, and find out what D's, E's, and F's we're going to be talking about over there. So yeah, do come and join us if you can. Massive thanks everyone for listening, whether you've been watching us live or whether you're listening back on the podcast platforms. Leave a rating or a review. We do really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers, guys.